Now we'll talk about cost of quality. These are the costs incurred to prevent nonconformance to requirements over the product's life. How much does it cost to make sure this product, service, or result works the way you expect? Internal failure costs are found by the project team. So this would be like as you're doing testing, you find things, you fix them. Those are internal failure costs. External failure costs are found by the customers, and that's a lot more challenging for organizations, a lot more expensive. And by the way, it's expensive not just in the fix, but also in poor perception that might be accrued. Now, failure costs equate with or equal the cost of poor quality. So when you hear the word failure costs, what it really means is, hey, this is what poor quality is costing this project. Projects, programs, and portfolios should make sure that they mitigate and reduce or remove operational costs from errors that might occur after the project. So what are the 5 levels of increasingly effective quality management? Well, if the customer finds the defects, well, that's pretty costly. We just talked about that. You can understand that. Plus, your reputation suffers. I'm a big Acura and Honda fan. I am a Ford lover as well, and yet I will probably never buy a Ford again. Why? Well, what happened was my wife and I purchased a beautiful car that has been constantly in the shop with recalls like you wouldn't believe. We had to replace the car has 45,000 miles on it. We had to replace the entire air conditioning unit. I guess what I'm saying is these are costs of quality. These are the external failure costs that I just don't want to deal with. I have I have inherited, would you believe? Unfortunately, my mom passed away, and I inherited her Acura TL. And that Acura TL, I mean, I've just did the timing belt at 111,000 miles, folks. I'm in the garage. I asked the guy that I work with, and I said, "Look, what cars do you observe do not come into the garage on a regular basis?" And he said, "I never see Hondas and Acuras." He said, "Honda, Acura first, then Toyota, then everything else." Well, that's saying something, and that's from a garage owner that does the maintenance on my cars. So you won't find as many defects with a Honda or Acura. I just want a maintenance-free existence, and unfortunately, I just love Fords, but it's a problem. So I'm probably never going to buy one again. That's pretty costly for Ford. Okay, defects are internally detected and corrected using quality control. It would have been nice if Ford's quality management processes caught all this. That would be great. Quality assurance corrects the overall process and not just special defects, and that's really important. A lot of the problem, I love talking about cars when you talk about quality because there's something everybody knows, and you can touch and feel, and you know a good car from a bad car, a good quality car from a bad quality car. In the 70s, a lot of times in the U.S. auto industry, we were faulted for poor quality. The bottom line is that at the time, you'd hear all of the time about things that are, related to special defects. In fact, they're very similar to the recalls. Whenever you hear about a recall, that's a special defect. Hey, fix the process, okay? That's the point, so that you don't even have recalls, right? Quality is incorporated into the project's planning and design. I think Toyota is famous for this. That's why their products are the best in the world from an automotive perspective. And an organizational culture of quality exists. Now, we do a cost-benefit analysis. Quality is important, but you don't want to break the bank, as we say, by constantly over-investing. There has to be a break-even point where you achieve a reasonable level of quality for a reasonable level of cost. That's what this is about. It helps project managers determine if quality activities will be cost-effective, and it compares the cost of each quality step with the benefits therein. I mean, if it's kind of like mowing the lawn. I've used this analogy before. If you have a lawnmower and you mow a lawn, the first 2 rows of the lawn will be a lot more productive than the last 2 because by the time you get to the last 2, you've already mowed the lawn. Prevention cost, it's the cost of poor quality in a project's products, services, or deliverables. Appraisal costs are the cost of evaluating, measuring, testing, or auditing a project's products, services, or deliverables. One is the cost of just what are we losing because we have poor quality. One is the cost of assessing how bad or good the quality is. Okay, failure costs, internal or external, we just mentioned. These are the costs of nonconformance of products, services, or deliverables with stakeholder expectations. And it's all, like I just mentioned, to achieve an optimal cost of quality, or CO, and also known as COQ, that balances the cost of prevention and appraisal with failure costs. And I have in red, beyond the optimal COQ, additional investment in appraisal and prevention is neither cost efficient or effective. And sometimes that surprises people. Okay, one time I worked with an individual I eventually had to fire. This was tragic because the person was actually really sharp, but unfortunately they always were striving for 100% or more, we believe, quality, when the stakeholders were happy with what they had to date. And so what that meant is that it wasn't effective. Her investment and additional investment of time was not cost effective. And as a result, it wasn't a beneficial thing to have this individual on the team. So it really does have not only product, service, and result implications, it can have people implications and managerial implications as well. On the left, we have the cost of conformance, which is money spent during the project to avoid failures. And these are prevention costs to build a quality product. And well, this, training helps prevent quality issues. Documented processes, that's really important. I've pushed for that on many a project. Equipment costs, the time to do it right, you have to invest time. Okay, appraisal costs, the cost of assessing the quality, as we just mentioned. Well, you want to invest time in testing. Costs of destructive testing loss. So you test and you find out there's problems. You have to, discard the poor quality items, and then the cost of inspection, right? But that is all to make sure a poor product, service, or result doesn't leave your walls. Okay. Now the cost for nonconformance. First, you want to think about internal failure costs, which we find, and then we have to do rework or scrap the product. And so we get through it all. We're about to deliver. We do a test at the end, and we find out we have to scrap it. Really, really problematic. Next, external failure costs that are found by the customer lead to liabilities. Warranty work. I mean, because like the Samsung Galaxy 8 phone, these phones were like exploding into flames in people's pockets. Well, that really hurt the prestige of Samsung momentarily. I mean, they're fine, but also the warranty, and think about it, all the replacement costs that they had to do, the lost business. I'm sure people left Samsung to go back to Apple phones at that time. This is again, non-conformance costs are the money spent during and after the project because of failures.